I'm VJ Hamilton and welcome to the Autoimmune Reset, the place for you to learn how to thrive with autoimmune disease and feel empowered to take steps to transform your health to feel better than ever. You can start making changes today to improve your health. So with every episode, my mission is to share with you simple ways to up-level your diet and lifestyle with key learnings from my own journey reversing autoimmune disease and inspirational stories from those who have reset their autoimmune symptoms and are now thriving in life. I suffered from autoimmune disease for over 25 years and now I live symptom-free, and I wish the same for you as well. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Autoimmune Reset podcast. My name's VJ Hamilton. I'm a nutritionist, scientist, and expert in autoimmune disease. And today I'm going to be talking to you about what not to do in 2025 when it comes to your autoimmune health. Because after transforming my own health and working with many clients who have autoimmune disease, there are various pitfalls which are very common when it comes to trying to reverse your symptoms and progressing with your health. These are mistakes that I've made, and it's very easy when you have a chronic illness or autoimmune disease to really want a quick fix or to expect that your health is going to change overnight. And really it's about the small steps that you take every day that are going to make the most difference. By having faith in the process, by having faith in your body, over the long term, those small changes can make such meaningful impacts into your life and hopefully get you to the point where you are free of your symptoms of an autoimmune condition or a chronic illness. And that's certainly where I am today. It took me about 2 years to really fully feel like I could say confidently that I was symptom free. And that was now over 9 years ago. But I lived with autoimmune symptoms for over 25 years. And I honestly just thought that was part of who I was. But I wish somebody had gone through these common pitfalls with me when I was starting out, because I definitely fell into a lot of the traps, and sometimes you learn a lot by the mistakes that you make. So it's not that I regret anything, but it is just worth knowing this in advance, which is what I'm going to be talking you through today. So not only going through the common pitfalls when it comes to transforming your health with an autoimmune condition, but also going through other alternative approaches instead of doing these things that might not be as beneficial for you. The first mistake that I see people make is to want a quick fix. And I know it's tempting that there might be a supplement or a new diet or the latest superfood that promises to help to reverse symptoms or help with fatigue. And the truth is, when it comes to supplements or even dietary protocols, it really needs to be personalized when it comes to an autoimmune condition. Autoimmune conditions are extremely complex. It can be driven by a number of factors, and you need to find out what the contributing factors are for yourself, because it might be linked to chronic inflammation, to your gut health, to nutrient deficiencies. And that's why when we are hoping for a quick fix overnight and we perhaps don't see the results that we'd like straight away, we then start to order lots of supplements or decide to do a detox program or something where we are hoping to see results faster. And I have done this myself. I have done various protocols. I've done the ketogenic diet. I've done the AIP diet. And it's not to say when I've done these types of diets, I haven't seen some results. I have, but it wasn't the way that I got long-lasting results, which is what a lot of us want when we have an autoimmune condition. And I know how overwhelming it can feel when you have these symptoms on a day-to-day basis and you just want that instant relief. But the truth is, when you start to address the underlying issues that are factors that apply to you and not everybody else, that's when you can make the most meaningful change. An important step in that is actually understanding your baseline. And you can do this in numerous ways. You can do some journaling. There are various questionnaires that I give to my clients to help us gain some more insight into what's happening in their body. There is also functional testing as well, which is where I started, to be honest. I had tried various different things over the 25 years that I had autoimmune symptoms, and it was when I discovered functional medicine, but in particular the functional testing, that I started to see some meaningful changes in my health. And even the test that I did at the doctor's, I shared with my nutritionist at the time, and she identified that I had enlarged red blood cells and that needed to be explored further. And my doctor really didn't pick up on it and he wasn't too concerned. But when I pushed and went back to my GP and explained that this could be a factor in my alopecia and my chronic fatigue, they were willing to do further testing. And then I also did some further testing on myself as well, like looking into my gut, looking into my hormone balance, looking into my nutrient deficiencies. And that meant that when I was making changes for my health, I was making changes that were right for me, not to do with the latest supplement on the market, not to do with the latest program or dietary protocol. It was the right approach for me and my body and not just my condition. Because I have had clients who have gone away and done programs or have come to me after doing programs. And sometimes if you are doing programs that are focusing on your gut health or maybe detoxification, that can sometimes do more harm than good, especially if you don't know your own baseline. And that's why getting to know yourself and your body and your underlying root causes and your story is so much more important than trying to do something on a whim and not really thinking about what's going to be right for you. I also think that when it comes to making changes for your health, you only need to take it a step at a time. Yes, you might have a goal when it comes to your health, but it really is best to set that out into small achievable goals, which you might focus on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, and then celebrate every time that you meet that goal, rather than thinking, for example, if you are experiencing alopecia and you have hair loss and thinking, I want my whole head of hair to grow back. It might be that you focus more on your energy for the first month, and it's like, actually, I just want to feel more energized this month. That's what I'm going to focus on. And then the next month, I just want to feel like I am eating a better variety of fruits and vegetables, and that my digestion feels better, and that I have more regular bowel habits, and taking it a step at a time. And then you might think about, actually now I'm wanting to see some hair growth, and I just want to see some hair growth on this one patch that I've seen some hair growth coming back, and take it a step at a time. And that can just be far more motivating, because you do have to have a lot of faith in these processes, because as I said, you might not see changes in your autoimmune symptoms straight away, but you may see changes in your health and in how you're feeling, and that hopefully should be motivating. And that is why when I'm working with clients, I will often recommend working with me on a 3-month plan, which I call my health transformation plan, because that's when you're going to see the most meaningful changes to your health. And that's how you can take this more structured approach where you're focusing on an underlying system or a specific area, where resolving the issue in that area is going to make the most meaningful changes to your health. Instead of just looking at your autoimmune condition and wanting a quick fix, take it a step at a time. If you are able to get testing done by the GP, that might be something to look into to check if there's anything out of sync. You can also do functional testing, which I offer in my clinic. And you can also make those short-term goals that you can celebrate every time that you achieve them, because every small step you take is getting you closer to your health goal. And it might be a case that you're never at the goal that you set for yourself. You're just making changes every day. And I know every year my goals change, and I just find that exciting, to be honest. That's how I like to live my life. I don't want to get to a certain point and then be done. There are also always things that you can change, and I've just gone through a round of testing for myself. I've done a gut health test. I've done my metabolomics test, and I will be sharing you some insights in that. I am going to be writing a blog on that. So if you're not on my mailing list already, then feel free to join that. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also download my free guide, the Autoimmunity Recovery Plan. And I send out a weekly newsletter called the Sunday Roundup, and I include lots of information on there around ways that you can improve your autoimmune health. I share a recipe. I also share a blog and just lots of information that can make sure that you have everything you need if you are looking to make changes to your autoimmune health. So the next pitfall that I see is when people ignore their stress and emotional health, because one area that is often overlooked when it comes to your autoimmune health is stress. And it's not just about feeling frazzled, it's about what stress does to your body at a deeper level. Because when you're under chronic stress, your body produces high levels of cortisol, which is the primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol isn't inherently bad, it's just that it's there to help you in an emergency rather than to be elevated all the time. And that's when it can cause serious problems, especially if you're managing an autoimmune condition. Now, high cortisol disrupts your digestive function, and we know digestion is absolutely key when it comes to autoimmune health. Cortisol will slow down the production of stomach acid and digestive enzymes, which are absolutely critical in breaking down food and absorbing nutrients. When I'm working with clients who will do stool testing, we often find that their stomach acid or digestive enzymes are low, and this is potentially one of the reasons for that. Now, without proper digestion, you can end up with nutrient deficiencies even if you're eating a healthy diet, because if you're not absorbing the nutrients in your gut, it doesn't matter what you're eating or what vitamins you're taking, you can easily become deficient. And that's why I've seen clients who are deficient in magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins, which are all essential for immune function. And that's because of the chronic stress and them losing the ability to absorb those nutrients. On top of that, high cortisol also weakens the gut barrier, and that can contribute to leaky gut syndrome, which is where your gut barrier the gaps in the gut barrier become wider, and that allows undigested food particles and toxins to enter your bloodstream, triggering inflammation and potentially worsening autoimmune symptoms. And here's the issue: when your body is in a stressed state, it actually deprioritizes healing. And that means you're up against it when it comes to reducing inflammation, repairing tissue, and supporting your immune system. So why does this even matter? Well, imagine if you are trying to heal a leaky gut or reduce inflammation when stress is constantly undoing your progress. It's like trying to climb a hill when somebody is pulling you back. So if you don't address stress, it's nearly impossible to break the cycle. Now, what can you do instead? Well, make stress management a key part of your healing plan. We all get to the beginning of the year and we're planning our exercise, we're planning our healthy eating. Are you planning stress management as part of that? And that doesn't mean that you need to overhaul your life overnight, but simple practices can make a big difference. And I've spoken about this before on the podcast, like journaling, meditation, spending time in nature. These are all great options. And personally, I've been using the NeuroSim device, which I have been finding extremely helpful. I'm somebody who generally likes to be doing things, and that's why stress management techniques are more difficult for me. I don't like just sitting around. I like meditation, but I like to do it first thing. I'm not going to get to it during the daytime because I'm then in my doer mode. And I find something like NeuroSim, it is a way to biohack that system in my body and help to calm down my nervous system. And since I've been using it, I have certainly seen some improvements in my sleep, which I track on my Oura Ring. I've found that my heart rate variability has increased, and I generally find my focus is better, and I have quite a busy mind. So being able to focus more has been life-changing. So I will put the link to that in the show notes if you would like to find out more about the NeuroStim device. And I have been asked by somebody recently to talk about these devices in more detail and how they can be helpful in chronic fatigue and autoimmune conditions, which I'll be sharing with you in a later podcast. Now, another thing that can trip you up is the risk of overloading on supplements. And I was so guilty of this when I was starting out. I just wanted to feel better. So if I saw a supplement or if I read about a supplement in a magazine, I would just go and buy whatever it was and start taking it and hope for the best. I didn't really understand how supplements work together and the detrimental effect that supplements could help. I just thought, well, why not try it? But the truth is, I took that approach so often that I was taking so many supplements. And it got to the point that I didn't even know I was taking them anymore. But then I also had the fear that if I stopped taking them, my symptoms would get worse. And the truth was my symptoms weren't really getting better. But then I just worried so much that they would get worse if I stopped taking them. So I just ended up accumulating a lot of different supplements with no idea what I was doing or why I was taking them. And this was before I was a nutritionist. The truth is, there can be supplements that aren't going to work for you, or you might not be taking the supplements in the right amounts, and that can actually worsen your symptoms. So let me give you an example, because one of the common mistakes I see is with iron supplementation. And again, I will be doing a separate podcast on ferritin shortly. But while iron is absolutely crucial for people with anemia, and it has been shown to be a factor in restless leg syndrome, taking high dosing without testing your iron levels can backfire, because excess iron can actually act as a pro-oxidant, which means it's going to increase inflammation and damage tissues, especially if your body isn't equipped to store or use it properly. I know when your iron is low and you are feeling tired and fatigued, it just feels like the easy option to buy some iron supplementation and see if that helps. But I would say when I'm working with clients, some clients do really well with iron supplementation and others don't. And that can be to do with how well your body is utilizing iron. It can be to do with other vitamins and minerals that might be low in your body, and that's creating an issue with how well you're utilizing iron. It might be to do with how well you're not absorbing iron, and there's just so many other factors to consider. It can also be to do with bacteria and parasites and viruses. So it's just worth bearing in mind that just because you know that iron can help with energy, it doesn't mean that it's right for you. Another example that I see is with folic acid, because many people will take folic acid because, again, it's heavily marketed. But the truth is, if you have a genetic variation, especially in the MTHFR gene, your body may struggle to convert folic acid to its active form, which is methylfolate. And this means that you can build up this unmetabolized folic acid in your body, which has been linked to immune dysfunction and even inflammation. So for someone with an autoimmune condition, this can actually exacerbate symptoms rather than alleviate them. So if you are taking a multivitamin, be sure to look at the different forms of vitamins that you're taking, because that's absolutely crucial. And you can also work with a nutritionist like me who can go through that with you, or do genetic testing to understand what vitamins are going to be right for you. But even something as seemingly straightforward as vitamin D can cause issues, because whilst it's crucial for immune function, taking high doses without monitoring levels can lead to imbalances with other fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A and K2. And I've had clients who have developed symptoms like calcium deposits and even worsened autoimmune flares because their vitamin D supplementation wasn't properly balanced with these cofactors. So why does this happen when it comes to supplements? Well, the truth is we're all biochemically unique, and your genetics, nutrient status, and overall health will determine how well your body processes and responds to these supplements. And without understanding these factors, taking supplements can feel like throwing darts in the dark. Sometimes they help, but sometimes they miss the mark entirely. So personalization is key. You can start with testing, or you can work with a nutritionist who can help determine whether you have any vitamin deficiencies, because there are various symptoms that relate to specific vitamin deficiencies. And you can also look at diet to help to identify any vitamin deficiencies. That is going to be a good starting point, so you can target any deficiencies and imbalances in a way that supports your body rather than overwhelming it. And I always tell my clients that supplements should complement your health journey, not complicate it. So when you take a personalized approach, you can use these strategically to address the root cause and truly support your autoimmune health, because supplements are there to accelerate healing. They are not there to take long term for the most part. The next pitfall I see is avoiding foods instead of healing your gut, because cutting out more and more foods in an attempt to avoid flare-ups is not a long-term solution. I've worked with clients who were just eating a handful of foods by the time I saw them, and they were feeling so frustrated and stuck. And that is a result of other underlying imbalances, which is outside of these food sensitivities, because the goal should be to heal your gut so you can tolerate a wider variety of foods rather than focusing just on the food sensitivities themselves. And I know when I was making changes for my health, and I had actually started taking positive steps to help my health, but I still found that my food sensitivities were increasing. And I honestly, I was getting a lot of fear eating out and eating different foods because I'd either get a headache or a skin rash or issues with my digestion. And it is frustrating, but the truth is I was focusing more on the food and I should have been focusing more on my gut, because your gut lining acts as a barrier. It helps to keep out harmful substances out of your bloodstream, but it allows those key nutrients to pass through. But when your gut becomes inflamed or damaged, which, as I mentioned earlier, is referred to as leaky gut syndrome, this barrier can become permeable, and that's when those undigested food particles and toxins can slip through. And this can cause inflammation in the gut, but it can also cause systemic inflammation and cause symptoms like joint pain, brain fog, and skin issues. Now, on top of that, imbalances in your gut microbiome, like having low levels of beneficial bacteria or an overgrowth of harmful ones, can make things worse. For example, certain bacteria produce compounds that irritate the gut lining, while others may reduce your body's ability to produce short-chain fatty acids, which are absolutely crucial for gut repair and immune balance. Now, working on all these key factors in the gut can help with the food sensitivities you have, because food sensitivities shouldn't be permanent. And by addressing the root cause, like repairing the gut lining and rebalancing the gut microbiome, can often be enough to improve the underlying root cause and to increase your tolerance to certain foods. So where should you start if you have a lot of food sensitivities? Start with the foundational steps to heal your gut. And this might include supporting your gut lining with nutrients like vitamin A, think stewed apples, glutamine and zinc. I also like cod liver oil. You can add foods or supplements to encourage the production of short-chain fatty acids. You can eat fiber-rich foods like starchy vegetables, and even having cold potatoes with the skin on. So cold new potatoes is a really great way to help to encourage the production of short-chain fatty acids. And you can take butyrate as well. And you can reduce inflammation with omega-3 fatty acids, which you find in oily fish, and anti-inflammatory herbs like turmeric and ginger. In the short term, food sensitivity testing can actually be incredibly helpful, because whilst you're healing your gut, if you take out the food sensitivity, it does mean that you are giving your gut that much needed calm environment to allow your gut to improve and allow your body to heal. It's not that I'm against restricting foods from your diet for a short period of time, but it is with the intention to heal the gut, work on the underlying issues, and then reintroduce the foods at a later date using a proper reintroduction protocol, so you do identify foods that you are reacting to more. So just remember, food sensitivities are often a symptom, not the root of the problem. And by addressing your gut health, using tools like food reactivity testing, you can reduce inflammation and work toward a more varied, enjoyable diet in the long term. And lastly, when it comes to your autoimmune health, please don't ignore sleep and recovery, because sleep is absolutely essential when it comes to your autoimmune health, and lack of sleep can derail your healing journey by increasing inflammation, disrupting your hormones, and leaving you feel exhausted. Sleep really is one of the most underrated tools, and that's because sleep is so vital for your immune system, hair growth, and even reducing autoantibodies. So let's start by focusing on immune health and how it helps, because while you sleep, your body goes into repair mode, and this is when your immune system produces infection-fighting cells and reduces inflammation. And I think around this time of year, it's so easy to be exposed to certain viruses and bacteria. And if your immune function is low, you're more likely to get ill, and that's outside of any autoimmune flares. And we know these types of infections can trigger autoimmune flares, which is why it's particularly important that you are sleeping more during the colder winter months. Sleep also helps to regulate cytokines, which are proteins that control the immune response. And you may have heard of the cytokine storm with COVID. And when these cytokines aren't properly regulated, they can cause autoimmunity. So when you don't get enough rest, your body is going to produce more pro-inflammatory cytokines, which could potentially lead to an autoimmune flare and lead to healing. Now, when it comes to hair loss, sleep plays a key role in the hair growth cycle, and the hair follicle operates in this cycle of growth, which is the anagen phase. You have the rest phase, which is the telogen phase, and then the shedding phase, which is the exogen phase, which is where the hair actually falls out and you see it falling out. Now, poor sleep can disrupt this cycle, which pushes more hair follicles into that resting phase, the telogen phase, because it is normal for us to lose hair. It's just when our hair isn't predominantly in the anagen phase that we end up having hair loss. And that goes for all types of hair loss. When our hair is more in that telogen phase, when the hair is being detached from the hair follicle, that's when we notice that we have thinner hair or that we have patches of hair loss. So sleep is also essential for producing growth hormone that supports healthy hair follicles. And there is a particular time, especially around deep sleep, when this is particularly important, when that growth hormone is stimulated. And I often find when people are looking to regrow their hair or improve their autoimmune health and they're not getting enough deep sleep, that can completely halt your progress. So when I'm working with clients, I might just focus on sleep alone because I know that it has such a knock-on effect to other factors. And then finally, sleep helps to lower autoantibodies. And the autoantibodies are the immune proteins that attack your own tissue in autoimmune conditions. And studies have shown that sleep deprivation increases systemic inflammation and can drive the production of autoantibodies. So prioritizing sleep, you're giving your immune system the time it needs to recalibrate and shift out of that overactive state that we see in autoimmunity. I've had clients who, once we've optimized their sleep routine, saw dramatic reductions in their symptoms, and it is something that I monitor on a monthly basis with my clients because it is so vital to your health. And it's not to mean that if you have sleep issues at the moment, you need to be worried about it, but it is important to be proactive and to start to form a plan of ways that may help improve your sleep, whether that's having better sleep hygiene, having a better consistent routine around sleep. You might want to explore taking certain natural sleep aids. You might look into your stress response, and that might be a factor for you in your sleep issues. So there are many things to consider. And in my signature program, the Inflammation Reset, there are 2 modules focused on sleep because I think it is so important when it comes to reducing inflammation. So what can you do to improve your sleep? Well, start by focusing on quality, not just quantity, because If you are not sleeping soundly, then you're probably not getting the most benefit from the sleep that you are having. So create a sleep sanctuary by keeping your bedroom dark, cool, and free of distractions. Avoid blue light from screens in the hour before you go to bed. And I will also put my blue light blocking glasses on from about 5 p.m. in the winter, because that is going to disrupt melatonin production, which is vital to get to sleep and is a key component of the sleep-wake cycle. If falling asleep or staying asleep is a challenge, consider practices like deep breathing, guided relaxations, and gentle stretches to calm your nervous system before bed. So supporting your sleep with nutrients like magnesium or L-theanine or herbs like valerian root may also help, but obviously work with a practitioner or nutritionist if you are considering any supplements. So remember, sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It's about giving your body the tools it needs to heal, grow, and thrive. Whether you're trying to lower inflammation, reduce hair loss, or improve your immune health, sleep is a non-negotiable. So let's recap what we've discussed today. So the most common pitfalls I see are chasing quick fixes, ignoring stress, overloading on supplements, cutting out foods without healing the gut, and neglecting sleep. Avoiding these traps can make such a huge difference in your autoimmune healing journey and getting to the point where you can confidently say that you are free of your autoimmune symptoms. So if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about taking one step at a time toward a healthier, stronger version of you. And that's what I share in my free group, the Autoimmune Forum. If you're not part of this community already, I would love you to join me. I have a new feature this year where I will be sharing recipes based on different protocols that people might be following if they have an autoimmune condition, and they are all anti-inflammatory in nature. This month I'm focusing on gluten-free. As you may know, I follow a gluten-free diet, and it doesn't mean if you have an autoimmune condition that gluten-free is right for you. There will be anti-inflammatory recipes in any case, but I will also be explaining how gluten affects those with autoimmune conditions, so you can consider that for yourself as well. But I just want to restate that it doesn't mean everybody should be gluten-free. And I'm also going to be talking about some of the gluten-free foods that are not helpful and other factors around gluten-free. Because I know when I first started out, I had no idea what had gluten in it. I didn't really know what to do when I went to a restaurant, and I had no idea what was good when it came to gluten-free products either. And you'll be surprised at the amount of different foods you can eat and the different types of recipes that you can make without gluten. And there are some really delicious gluten-free breads now. You can make bread yourself as well, quite simply. I mean, it sounds complicated, but it isn't really. And there are lots of other ways that you can adapt this lifestyle if you need to, but it's just worth hearing about how gluten affects your body and whether it's right for you. And also I'll be talking about the role of pesticides with gluten, the farming process with gluten as well, just so you have a really good understanding of it. And I really love the book Grain Brain, so if you haven't read that, then I would certainly recommend it, by Dr. David Perlmutter, who I love, and I think he is sharing some wonderful information about brain health in particular, and he has other books on that too. And maybe I'll get him on the podcast soon. If you have any questions about anything we've covered today, then you feel free to pop over to my Instagram account, which is at the Autoimmunity Nutritionist. If not, have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Autoimmune Reset. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you liked it, I would hugely appreciate a review on iTunes, as it helps me understand what you like about the podcast and to help share the information with more people. I'm excited to speak to you next time, and remember, you have the power to take the reins on your health. So keep the faith and celebrate the small wins. Until next time.